Hello whisky fans, today I'm going to be looking at Proper No. 12 Irish Whisky, which is a proper Irish whisky that cost me all of £17.60. And obviously being a proper Irish whisky, this one's going to have an age statement, it's going to be non-chill filtered, natural colour, all of those proper things. Oh. So if you haven't guessed, even though they're calling this proper, it isn't any of those things. If we look at the label and what they tell us online, it does say on the label actually, on the back, that it's matured for a minimum of 3 years in bourbon barrels. So at least they're telling us what barrels it's gone into. But from that we can probably assume that it is 3 years and a day, if that. It's 40% ABV. It does mention in very small blurry font on the bottom, Zucca colour, so caramel colouring, E150A, and you can almost bet that this is going to be chill filtered as well. For anyone that hasn't heard of this one, or they haven't done their research into it, the Proper 12 actually refers to Postal District 12 of Dublin, which is west of the main city. It's mostly a residential area, and this whisky is a celebrity endorsement tie-in celebrity whisky thing. So similar in a way to how Matthew McConaughey endorsed the Wild Turkey Long Branch, this one is endorsed by Conor McGregor, who some of you might not know is a retired MMA fighter, although he does have a habit of coming out of retirement, so by the time I release this video he may be back, I'm not sure on that one. But Dublin Postal District No. 12, around the Crumlin area west of the city, is where Conor McGregor is from. So they're obviously trying to give you this idea that it's a proper Dublin quality, good honest whisky, but it is a little bit difficult to find out where this is actually from, because as far as I know, there's no Proper 12 distillery. If you look at the address on the back, it's actually got an address in Dublin 2, which is the other side of the city. And if you have a look on the website, it actually says that it's made in the oldest distillery in Ireland, which would be Bushmills in Northern Ireland. So if that's the case, it's not really a proper Dublin anything at all. It's all a very confusing mixed message, but it's a very cheap whisky and it's a celebrity endorsement. Let's just crack it open, see what we've got. Can't remember if I've already mentioned, but this is 40% ABV. It's basically the bare minimum in just about every way. And looking at that colour, if that is 3 years old, I'd say that there's almost certainly artificial colouring gone into that as well. Let's see how it smells. Actually, you're getting quite an odd for an Irish whisky, odd burnt aroma to the nose of this one. There's lots of burnt, fumey, almost a smell of the fumes that you get from firelighters. And you can definitely smell the youth. There's definitely quite a bit of harsh spiritiness, quite a bit of acetone on the nose, as well as some toasted, rather mild spicy oak. There's definitely quite a bit of vanilla and quite a bit of burnt caramel. The thing that this really reminds me of, when you combine that rough, immature spiritiness with the sweet vanilla and caramel, really sweet, cloying aromas, actually reminds me of quite a cheap, not particularly well made rum. So let's see how it tastes. So on the palate, I'm actually going to say that it's quite a bit better than the nose. The nose I'm really not a fan of. On the palate, you're getting a big hit of sweet vanilla. You can definitely tell that this whisky has had quite the bourbon treatment to it. And I'd say that at least some of those bourbon casks are probably quite fresh, because you're getting lots of honey, caramel, and an immense taste of vanilla, so really fresh bourbon cask. But I'm also getting some more of that slight burnt character, and I'm not sure where that's coming from. There's also a little bit of a thin maltiness, but more worryingly, there's some rather immature notes on the palate to this one, and they're more covered up than they are on the nose, but there's definitely something about the flavour of this one that comes off as something that you would expect from a cheap blended scotch, something with lots of really rough grain whisky in it. It's not to say that there's no Irish character in this at all. There is some sort of fruit, salad, sweets, and a little bit of a hint of shortbread on the palate of this one, but it's really covered up by that harsh spiritiness and that big hit of vanilla and caramel. Just going to try a little bit more and look at the finish. So again, the finish on this one, slightly spirity and grainy, and a little bit of a wood glue type flavour. But the finish is very mild and drops off very quickly, and it's very short. It's essentially got little to no finish at all. You've got the aroma, you've got the early palate, and then it really drops off really rapidly. So, like I said before, the nose on this one is really the low point of the experience. It's quite a rough, young, immature, spirity, quite harsh, unpleasant nose. The palate is reasonably acceptable, so if you're not the sort of person that spends a lot of time nosing your whiskey, this one is probably going to appeal to you more. And that's probably where they're going with this one, because this isn't going to be made for the whiskey connoisseurs. This is really a whiskey made to be consumed as a mixer, maybe in pubs, consumed with friends, people that just want an acceptable whiskey, and it kind of achieves that. And you can see that that might be what they are aiming at with the finish of this one as well, because the way that the finish just dies and disappears completely, no one's going to drink this and think, oh, that really burns, that's really harsh, and you know, it doesn't have that rock gut type effect after you swallow. And in a way you could say that that is smooth, but I'm not 100% sure that having no finish and no aftertaste at all can really qualify as smooth. But I think that's probably because of their target market for this. That's probably why they've gone for that. As for the aroma, it's really not good. Actually, with the acetone and the spiritiness, it actually smells a little bit unsafe to drink. If someone had made this in their own still at home and they gave it to you, you'd probably smell it and think, is this really a good idea to be drinking this? Because it really does come over quite harsh. When you nose this and sip some, you do wonder if it's going to kill as many brain cells as actually being punched by Conor McGregor. It's that kind of nose. As for a grade, I'm going to give this one an E, and no apologies about that. To be fair, I don't hate it. It's not offensive, but I don't like anything about it either. But more importantly, I think that this one, at the price that it is, I got this on special offer for £17.60, but full price is normally about £22. I think £22 is much too much for a whiskey of this quality. And I think that if you are looking for a cheap, reasonably good Irish whiskey, you're probably much better off looking at the Dubliner, made by the Dublin Liberties Distillery, which is actually in Dublin. In my opinion, you can probably give this one a miss. But if you've enjoyed it or you have any opinions on this one, let me know in the comments what you think, and thank you for watching. Cheers.